Hey everybody, and welcome back to a brand new video. Now I'm a huge Stranger Things fan, and I cannot describe the hype I've had for season 5 since season 4 ended. This is one of my favorite shows of all time. Now fast forward 3 years and it has finally came back, and it was absolutely glorious. Volume 1 of Season 5 came out a few hours ago, and I could not be happier. It did not disappoint. Now, I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I am a little bit tired. I have not gone to sleep since watching it. It's just been playing back in my head over and over, so I felt like I had to make a video about it. My raw, completely honest, true opinions. Now, of course, there will always be things I think could be improved on, or I simply didn't like. So what I want to do today is go over the first volume and talk about the things I loved and didn't love so much, and really just get, like I said, my true raw immediate thoughts out, and I would absolutely love to hear yours. If that sounds good to you, let's get started. Now off the rip, let's talk about the big thing that happened. Spoiler alert, obviously. Will now has fully fledged powers. That scene where he finally unlocked his fucking ultra instinct avatar state and saved everybody had me so incredibly hyped for the future of his character. Obviously he's always had some sort of ability to connect with the Upside Down and Vecna ever since he was taken, but now he's on a whole different level. I don't think anyone has a full idea or grasp on just what exactly Will's max power is going to be. But for a first-time power user, the fact that he was able to crunch demos in multiple different areas at once, out of the pure love for others and acceptance of himself, is pretty impressive. Now we've seen that his powers are pretty similar to Vecna, with a whole snapping the arms, legs, and neck stuff, alongside the fact that he can see and spy through Vecna's eyes like Vecna spies through other people's eyes, and I imagine that he will continue to be the kind of direct antithesis of Vecna, sharing most of his powers with him, but using them for protection rather than destruction. This was definitely the biggest holy shit moment of Volume 1. And low-key, with Will, 8, and 11 in the team, I don't know if Vecna can handle this. He might just be cooked. Now next up though, I have something that was kind of bothering me, and maybe on subsequent rewatches I'll feel differently, but I didn't really feel that father-daughter dynamic with Hopper and 11 that I felt through seasons 3 and 4. Now I'm gonna immediately say this has nothing to do with any of those rumors that were going around. As far as I'm concerned, those rumors were completely bullshit. I'm just commenting on what I saw on screen. I felt more from Hopper, but maybe that's because he would say comments like, "You're giving your old man a heart attack," or talk about how he didn't want to lose her. But 11 just kept this really stonewall expression, but the majority of the time it felt like she was meeting an old acquaintance, rather than the man who became her father. It wasn't bad acting or anything, but it did feel pretty jarring going from the emotional end of season 4 into season 5, where that seems to be lacking. However, you could chalk it up to 11 being so focused on the mission as shown in her training, but I don't know, man. I just personally didn't feel it, but that's only my opinion. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But on a better note, a change I really did like now is how Dustin feels so much more serious and stoic. And the reason this change doesn't feel as jarring is because it makes sense for Dustin to work so hard to keep Eddie's name and legacy alive, no matter who wants to whoop his ass or talk shit. He was the one who witnessed Eddie's last moments. He was the one who had to tell Eddie's uncle about him dying in a scene that I truly believe to be one of the most heart-wrenching in the entire series. So naturally, Dustin would stick up for Eddie's honor and still rock that Hellfire shirt, even going so far as to put a snake in his bully's locker and getting his ass jumped to stick up for Eddie. I understand missing the fun, goofier version of the character, especially because it seems the Steve, Dustin, best friends for life era isn't going so well anymore, and that's many people's favorite duo in the whole show, including my own. And seeing them bicker back and forth sucks, but Dustin has a lot going on mentally, so I won't hold it against him. Though like I said, I do like the more serious tone of the character, but I do hope him and Steve reconcile ASAP, because those are still the boys. However, now let's talk about something else that involves our boy Steve. This whole Steve, Jonathan, Nancy love triangle situation is actually not as annoying as I thought it was going to be. Now, I'm never a huge fan of love triangles in shows or movies unless it really calls for it, but I like how here it definitely adds tension, and there are brief moments where you can see the jealousy flare up in both guys and some uncertainty within Nancy. Those moments are super fleeting because they have so much shit to get done that they can't focus focus on it for more than a couple minutes at a time. You had Jonathan and Steve argue in the car about it, where both men made some pretty valid points. Steve, even if it is unconscious, which I don't think it is, does try to out-macho Jonathan with certain things like that really goofy ladder climb scene, and Jonathan's a very insecure man in his relationship, and he focuses so hard on what Steve is doing, trying to get Nancy back, rather than focusing on Nancy, which is causing their already strained relationship to strain even more. However, in both guys' defenses, Nancy doesn't do anything to shut either guy down. She doesn't really reassure Jonathan, or hasn't throughout this season, and she doesn't tell Steve off for so clearly flirting with her. So I think all three of them have some shit to work out come volume 2. The only subplot of this subplot I find strange is the engagement thing looming in the air. I don't feel like it's completely necessary. They're so young, and it just feels like added tension for the sake of it. It wasn't needed, but besides that, I think the love triangle stuff actually surprised me. I thought I would just completely hate it, so good job Duffers for making an unbearable trope bearable. However, this next trope I'm not such a big fan of, and that is, when are we gonna stop pump faking Hopper's death? I mean, come on guys, like this is the third time you've nearly sacrificed Hopper but didn't. I'm at the point now where I'm like, kill him or don't. Granted, this wasn't as dramatic as the season 3 finale, not even close, and I'm truthfully not even really salty about it, but I'm at the point now where anytime Hopper's in a little bit of trouble, I just think he's gonna get through this. I mean, the dude was shot, nearly stabbed, nearly blown up, and nearly strangled, all within the course of a couple episodes, and not once did I clutch my pearls in fear, because we've been here before. It wasn't like the Wheeler parents or when Lucas got smacked, where I was like, like hold on a minute. I knew Lucas wouldn't die there, but the Wheelers were a completely different story. And that brings me to my next point. Are the Demogorgons less scary? I was talking about the Wheelers and about Lucas, and I remembered in season 1 the Demogorgon was a terrifying, brutal creature, and it was only one of them. And don't get me wrong, they still are brutal and terrifying, and I'm so glad we're seeing the demos in action, especially that scene at the military base. And even though it didn't showcase their ultimate beast-like swag, I couldn't not mention the trap at the house. That was some Home Alone level badassery from the gang, but unfortunately the demos are nerfed by plot armor surrounding the main cast, and I'm a hardcore demo defender, and I stand by the fact that the scene where they damn near ripped Mike's parents apart shows that these guys were still a threat, and the only reason they are still alive is because Nancy and Elle got there at the exact time they needed to. But whatever, I still think the Demogorgons are really cool, and even though a lot of people have been saying they're not as scary as they used to be, I'm still gonna always love the Demogorgons, even if they have dropped a little bit on the scare factor. Now I know we're just speeding through this, but I want to get these thoughts out. Our next topic is Max. Now she's back, but in a certain kind of way, and while the rest of the group doesn't really know what she's been up to, seeing her again is super cool. Obviously there were a ton of theories on how we'd end up seeing her again, and this was definitely something I didn't have in mind. I thought it would be a more normal, like human waking up out of a coma kind of thing, rather than her trying to fight her way back to consciousness while battling Vecna in his own mental prison, while taking sanctuary in a cave, which apparently might have something really important to do with the play. Now I'm gonna watch that and probably kick myself for not watching it before making this video, but I've been waiting 3 years for this, man. I can't even sleep right now, my head is banging. But back on topic. Max is stuck in a mental prison and was nearly able to make her way out of it through music and by happenstance finding the right memory, but unfortunately the song ended right before she made it out and Vecna found her, which caused her to hide out in the cave that Vecna can't go into, as I mentioned previously, and she chose option 2, accepting her fate. So she has to figure that out, hopefully with the help of Lucas, because you can't have the season end with her stuck in there. That makes no sense, and she will definitely be a big player in helping Holly and the other children escape. So we'll have to see what happens with that, because Vecna believes children to be really malleable and the perfect choice for his twisted version of Armageddon. But as we've just seen with Will, maybe Vecna hasn't thought this out all the way. However, speaking about other superpowered kids, 8 is back. Now I know for some people this means absolutely nothing to them and they don't care about this character because obviously that episode blew chunks, but personally I think it would have sucked worse if we never saw her again. Even if I'm not too entirely stoked to see her, I don't care that much, I'm happy we're at least getting a continuation of this storyline. Now that's kind of all I have to say about this character. We saw her for like 25 seconds, I don't have nothing else to say. But I do have a lot to say about this next storyline, and that is the military storyline. Now they are a huge force this season. They've been a constant throughout the show, but the 11 and Hopper storyline revolved nearly completely around taking down the military, who have set up camp within the Upside Down because they believed Vecna was locked up within the base. Now, of course, because the military wanted to capture 11, this led to multiple gunfights and confrontations, both with soldiers and upside-down creatures alike. The military even managed to find a sonic frequency that completely subdues 11 and her powers. Now, both 11 and Hop ended up coming out on top and rescuing 8, but this confrontation is still far from over. Hop didn't kill Dr. K, and frankly, I don't know why he didn't. He killed a whole bunch of other people, and he just pistol whipped her, but they did embarrass her and her whole base of operations, so I'm very excited to see what's going to happen next on Christmas. Now, hopefully I'm not forgetting anything too important. I didn't delve too deep into Mr. What's-It or the fact that no main characters have died yet, but I am absolutely buzzing about this show. I know I've mentioned a few things I had problems with, but overall I was hooked for 4 straight episodes. My attention span is absolutely fucking cooked, but when Stranger Things is on, you watch, because it's gonna be good no matter what. I'm a huge fan of all 4, now 5 seasons, and I can't wait for Christmas through New Year. It's gonna be a blast, and I can't wait to make more Stranger Things content, so I hope you have a great rest of your day or night. I need to take some melatonin, get to sleep, because it's 6 in the morning right now as I'm recording this. Yeah, I'm gonna catch y'all later, man. Bye.